think it's great. It's terrific that we got tagging back because we've lost the clamps on what the star factor players are able to do in the game at the moment. And I was surprised that Geelong didn't go with some sort of tag on Warner, Heaney, and they had blitz halves on Gould's wing early, but it wasn't really a tag as such. And they were allowed to play.
The tag is back. The past 5 or so weeks in the AFL have seen the run with plays come back in vogue all across the competition. We saw it with Hawthorn's Finn McGuinness in 2023 at times, but he actually hasn't featured a whole lot for Hawthorn this year. Whether you think the tag is fair or not, when it comes off, it does look genius. Now the success rate of tagging a player and winning is overall pretty hard to judge. Sure, a single player can stop another, but 17 others are still on the field alongside them. Some embrace the villainous nature of the responsibility and have actually created careers from it. It's something a handful of players right now are trying to replicate. There have been taggers across the years who go both ways. Cameron Ling, Kane Corns and Brett Kirk are probably the 3 best. However, not all go for the ball. When we talk of villains, Tony Liberatore has to be mentioned. It's a shame, as for most of his career the undersized midfielder was a ball winner. He's still the only player in VFL AFL history to win the under 18 best and fairest, reserves best and fairest and the Brownlow. His 18 votes enough to win the 1990 medal in a huge upset. 7 times in his career he averaged at least 20.5 disposals, and 6 times he polled more than 10 Brownlow votes. But his game would change in 1997. The then 31-year-old was losing leg speed as the game was becoming more quick. To survive, he had to start locking down opposition players.
Some of us have said at different times that you went outside the spirit of the game. Do you agree?
Yeah, probably from 97 onwards, so probably my last, as I said, 6 or 7 years, I did have to change my game. Yeah, and I did go outside the spirit of the game, and there's certain actions on the footy field that I'm not proud of, but I think...
Until his last year in 2002, Liberatore had famous run-ins with a number of players. In 2001, it was Richmond's Matthew Knights. In his own words, Liberatore shopped early, resulting in Knights heavily bleeding. It started an all-in brawl during their round 2 game at the MCG. Knights, as he came off, was yelling in fury and wasn't happy with the treatment from Liberatore. For the game, he gathered just 8 disposals and the Bulldogs came away with a 42-point win. The other rivalry was with Sydney's Paul Kelly. The 1995 Brownlow medalist had numerous run-ins with Liberatore, with things always getting extremely physical.
But there was a game. Kelly plays footy the way I think most of us believe it should be played. Hard, aggressive, and then shake hands at the end.
Yeah.
He refused to shake your hand after one game, didn't he?
Yeah, that was a bit disappointing, but, that was his call and just move on. I mean, I don't know. Look...
But the issue was, they say, the Kelly side and the Swans, that you scratched him. And he allegedly had a body sort of covered in scratches at the end of that game.
Yeah.
Is that true?
No, that's not true. And, footballers who come off the ground, the jumpers...
Along the journey, he was accused of scratching, punching, and seemingly doing anything possible to beat his opponent and help the Western Bulldogs win. In the late 90s, Libba was a big villain in the competition. Perhaps the best pure tagger of all time could be found out west. Pick 55 in the 2002 National Draft was Ryan Crowley. He was actually delisted by the end of 2004 and hadn't played a senior game for Fremantle. Luckily, he was rookie listed and slowly began to play AFL football. When the 2008 season came around, he found his spot as a run-with player. Name a great during the 2010s, and Crowley played on him. Gary Ablett Jr., Chris Judd, Brent Harvey, and Patrick Dangerfield to name a handful. He did it through intense concentration and physicality. Crowley wasn't the fastest footballer, but he was relatively big and could run all day. When Ross Lyon was his coach from 2012, Fremantle were also one of the best defensive teams in the competition, and he did get support from his teammates.
And so I turned and looked at him, he had this big smile on his face, and he went on to start telling me that I was the greatest player in the game. It's an honour to play on me.
It was an honour to play on you.
It was an honour to play on me. There's no way that he's going to be able to keep up with me today. And I thought this Ryan Crowley's not actually too bad. Anyway, we get into the second quarter. It would have been about 15 minutes into there. The ball went out of bounds again. Same thing in my peripheral. I could see him standing about 3 metres away. And I turned and had a look again, and he had this angry look on his face. And I thought, okay, I don't know what I've done here. And he then went on to tell me I was the biggest cheat in the game. Handballs around the back, and I figured out pretty quickly that was actually a tactic of his. And I think it worked for him.
His role for the team did get him the best and fairest for the 2012 season, and in the following year's grand final, in which Fremantle would lose to Hawthorn, Crowley was one of Freo's best, keeping Sam Mitchell to just 12 disposals, while he had 15 of his own. Now it's clear not everyone enjoyed the work of Crowley through multiple post-game incidents, but it showed his willingness to do what the team needed. After a 12-month ban for taking a banned substance, he would move to Essendon in 2016, playing a further 8 games. He wasn't as dirty of a player as Liberatore, but to the best players in the AFL, he had to be at the top of the most feared people.
And it just clashed, and I always, the better the player, the dirtier I am usually. So try and keep up with them or slow them down. So
the better the player, the dirtier St Kilda defender and tagger Stephen Baker was. It was what he needed to do to play 203 games for St Kilda and win their best and fairest in 2005. The above clip was from round 13 2010 and might be Baker's most well-known game. He kept arch-rival Steve Johnson to 14 disposals and a goal, but in doing so, copped a 9-week suspension in the free-for-all.
I started off a few little niggles, and
Who started the niggling?
well, I started the niggling, but he gave me a ripping punch. I don't know if it was the first or second, a big backhander, and I don't know if that's the one where he broke his hand in the game, but he gave me a ripping crack across the forehead, and it wasn't caught on camera. It was a sort of behind the goals vision of it, and I thought, that's a great one. It stumbled me a bit. And then I come in, the camera zoomed in just as I was giving him an uppercut straight after. So I thought, oh, shit.
After serving his suspension, Baker came straight into the grand final side, playing on Scott Pendlebury and doing a good job, restricting him to 19 disposals. But the following week in the replay, he struggled physically, and Pendlebury won the Norm Smith medal in the rematch. In 2007, Baker had another serious incident that got him a 7-match suspension.
It was a bit of a headbutt. We were just running down the wing and found myself in the wrong position, and
So you're coming in opposite directions?
I can't remember what I said at the tribunal, but it was a bit of stop and prop and
Okay. And through the head, back or forward?
back.
Yeah. So it was intended?
Over his career, he got 15 reports on the field and was guilty every time. In total, he missed 28 games in his career due to suspension. It was just a result of the way he played. Baker admitted himself he used an array of dirty tactics when trying to stop his opponent.
Which was the tactic that you would resort to when you needed something negative most?
The punch in the back of the arm one I love. So I remember I got hit there one day, and it gave me a dead arm for the rest of the game, and I couldn't move properly. So that was one I used to work on. I just to hit him just above the elbow and just he stops sharpened a couple of times. The
Did
boys
you
still
really?
laugh about that. I used to file them a bit sharper and then stand on their ankles. I used to know the good spot to hit them in the guts.
Sternum?
Yeah, the sternum.
Yeah.
And it's just as the balls get, just give them a little one in the sternum. It takes the wind out of you. And, that was something.
So for the players who are currently tagging, who fits the mould to continue playing the role? Carlton's Alex Cincotta has been starring. At 187 centimetres, he has the size to match up on most, and is unique because of the speed he has. It means he can play on quick on ballers like Zach Merritt, but also stop a defender like Tom Stewart. He kicks goals going the other way as well, and seems destined to keep his spot in a strong Carlton side. Jared Berry from Brisbane is another. He did a good job on Marcus Bonampelli a few weeks ago, especially early when the game was on the line, and unlike Cincotta, he can get a lot of the ball himself. He's probably less of a pure tagger than others, but is effective around stoppages. Ever since he has moved on ball from a wing, the Lions have been winning. Marcus Windhager from St Kilda has also done well in every job he's been asked to do. Like Chincotta, he has the size and speed to play on just about every midfielder. And Sydney's James Jordan is the other standout, mainly playing on defenders like Lockie Whitfield, Bailey Dale or Jordan Clark. His role is to stop the opposition club's best rebound defender. It's worked for the top of the table Swans, and he won't be leaving the side anytime soon. So the tag might be here to stay, and there are a few modern day players who fit the mould to keep it going.